bobsled time!
Three Films and a Podcast has no claim of ownership on any film footage used in this episode. All film footage is owned in its entirety by the copyright holders and is used solely with the intent of film criticism, commentary, and education under fair use law. And just like every car in Too Fast, Too Furious, this podcast contains spoilers. Enjoy.
Hey, welcome back to Three Films in a Podcast. This is one of our spin-off episodes, our Three Films and a Little podcast episodes. In fact, this is the Watch Party edition, which is a spin-off of the spin-off. Whew. So really, you should call us Three Films and Three Podcasts.
This is like Inception level stuff.
Wow. That's right.
We're getting down there.
Whew.
But
you just made my head hurt.
Yeah, I'm sorry. If anyone needs a break real quick, go ahead before we get too much into it.
Off to a great start. 10 seconds in, everyone needs a break.
But we got Tyler in Portland.
Hello.
As always, Ben up in Salt Lake.
Hello.
And I'm hailing down here in Pleasant Grove. And it's nice.
Today I learned. I didn't know you lived in Pleasant Grove.
I live in Pleasant Grove, yeah.
That's fun.
You have to say it softly. Pleasant Grove.
You do. Don't call the cops, man.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I guess just to give a little background on this episode, we did something a little different this time around. For those of you who don't know about our watch parties, we do as much as we can to engage with the community. That's kind of the reason we started this podcast. We love movies. We want to talk with people who love movies. More so, we want to watch movies with people who love movies. So
yes.
The watch party kind of fit naturally into that. It also happened to be the easiest way to get engagement with the community. We post polls very frequently every month on what movie we'll watch for the watch party, and the community gets to vote. This time, the theme was sports, and so we kind of did a March Madness thing where we actually did our first giveaway, and whoever filled out the correct bracket or the closest bracket was able to get some prizes. And Ben, remind me what those prizes were.
We did everything. We did a copy of the winning movie, Happy Gilmore, and any copy of our movies from our Rushmore Mountain for 2020, stuff that we watched on the pod, and a mug. So the person who got first place got all three of those. Second place got a mug or a shirt and a movie from our Rushmore. And then third place got a mug or a shirt, and we had a two-way tie. So we ended up having 4 winners for this.
Really breaking the bank here at Three Films Podcast with these contests.
Yeah, our whole 2021 budget went to that.
Yeah, we're done.
Out the door.
Yeah.
Thanks for playing.
It's all going to be indie stuff from here. But Justin pulled it out. He picked the actual winner. So we had a first place who went all the way, which is pretty awesome. So I thought that was pretty rad. And
if you're listening to this, that could have been you. You know,
it should have been you.
Should have been you. But it was a great event that we held. The watch parties, as always, are a great experience. I will say this one did not go as smoothly as we would have hoped.
It did not, which is a bummer because, we were trying to use HBO Max, and as a platform, I like it as a platform. It's got some good stuff on it, some good content, a lot of good movies. But I'm not sure if we'll be able to use it for these watch parties. I mean, I guess we'll keep trying, but that sucked. It was a big bummer.
Yeah, it's so weird. I mean, the other ones that we've used have been Disney Plus, and I think Netflix was Addams Family. Mm-hmm. And those both just went like super smooth. But for some reason with HBO, it's like you had to get in and then you had to hit play on your side and then open up Teleparty, where the rest of them has just been like, click the link, you're good to go. So we'll keep troubleshooting and see, because HBO has like a very wide library, especially if we ever do any of these like new release watch parties with everything we're going to be putting out this year. I think it'd still be fun to try to use it. But for now, until we can kind of figure it out, we might just stick to Hulu, Netflix, and Disney Plus.
So we thought we were going to be watching Happy Gilmore, and we ended up reverting to another 90s classic, Cool Runnings. I already forgotten the name.
I know. I was so bummed we didn't get to watch Happy Gilmore. Like, I already had my talking points queued up. I already like was writing jokes in my head. You know, like
Ready to go.
I was ready. It was a strange pivot. Yeah, weird adjustment. But
it was kind of fun to, like, in the moment, you know, in the chat, talk about it and do like a little miniature vote, you know, and like. The community aspect of it is what I liked the most, you know, because it wasn't just like, well, we're not watching Happy Gilmore, I guess see you guys later. It was quick pivot. Everyone was still down to watch whatever. And like, yeah, I mean, so you just never know what's going to happen at these watch parties. So, you know, tune in, give it a shot.
It worked out. Yeah, it was awesome. So yeah, instead of Happy Gilmore, we reverted to watching Cool Runnings, which, you know, is a classic. And Ben, if you could just give us a breakdown of a little background of that movie.
For sure. It was a good rewatch for me because there was definitely stuff that I had forgotten. I know we were debating between that and Mighty Ducks, but I just pulled for Cool Runnings. So I'm like, I feel like I'm less likely to put this on. I'll probably watch, you know, I would watch the Mighty Ducks sooner. But it was fun to rewatch it, just like the story elements of how it all happened because I forgot. But I mean, essentially, it's just, you know, we have one protagonist, Reese, and he gets tripped up in a race qualifying for the Olympics. There's a couple other people there as well who end up joining him later, and he's just trying to fight for his way to get into the Olympics, and there's just no way for him to do it. And the guy that he's talking to, the official, just kind of jokes. He says, like, I mean, if you want to start like a bobsled team, like that's like the only thing that we don't have, you know, or you can, I forget what the other things that he said were, you know, but he sees this picture on the wall. Who's this, whatever. So then that's what kind of kicks off the drive to get into the Olympics by any means necessary. And they go with bobsledding. And it kind of ties into the push cart racing they have going on in Jamaica. Obviously just like the climate elements that played to a lot of the jokes and stuff. And then in Jamaica, we have kind of a dishonored member of like the bobsledding community who was in the Olympics and then I don't know if he was like banned or just like he got his title stripped from him. That's John Candy. So, you know, he gets recruited to coach them. The whole like, no, I'm not going to do it, whatever, back and forth. And he ends up doing it. So they do some training there. They head off to the Olympics. All kind of based on a true story, obviously, like with a little bit of artistic license with the way it ends, you know, and just kind of the way they're treated there. But it was a great rewatch. Like I had a lot of fun with it. It was amazing. Just the stuff that just came back to me while we were watching it, you know, like there's a whole scene where he's like trying to pump him up in the mirror. And for some reason, just like out of nowhere, I just like started saying along with him. He's like,
I see pride. I see power. I see a badass mother who don't take no crap of nobody.
I was like, wait, I don't remember this, but I do. It's just like coming at me. It's like Jason Bourne. Like, I don't know why I know this, but there's the accent. Like,
I can tell you the license plate numbers of all 6 cars outside. I can tell you that our waitress is left-handed and the guy sitting up at the counter weighs 215 pounds and knows how to handle himself. I know the best place to look for a gun is the cab of the gray truck outside. And at this altitude, I can run flat out for a half mile before my hands start shaking.
I just remember these lines from Cool Runnings, so kind of nuts. But I had a ton of fun. It was a great rewatch, and I don't know, it was a really good time. I think one of my favorite things throughout it, just like during any movie or after any movie, is kind of looking at the IMDb stuff and kind of seeing what the what ifs and the trivia and stuff. And I thought, you know, just to say like the cast that we have here is perfect and it works wonderfully, and I think it has to be that way. But it was interesting seeing who Disney wanted initially.
It's pretty wild.
The 4 main cast members, they wanted Denzel Washington in the lead, Eddie Murphy as Sanka, Wesley Snipes as Yul Brynner, and Marlon Wayans as Junior. They did also have John Candy on their wish list, so they got 1 of the 5. But I know it said like Denzel turned it down, as did Eddie Murphy, and Eddie Murphy's was because of the price, which makes sense. You know, the early 90s, like he's not going to like take anything super low or anything like that. But yeah, I just thought that was like, that's such a different movie. I don't know if it works or not, but the way this movie exists right now with this cast, it's perfect. I mean, what do you think, Fuzz? Like, I just don't know that this could have worked with all those names.
Yeah, I the one I think would work for sure would be Wesley Snipes as Yul Brenner.
Yeah.
That's the only one that really works to me. I mean, Denzel, I could buy him as a world-class athlete, but the guy that does play Derice, Leon, like he looks like a track star.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Denzel doesn't look like a track star. He looks athletic. And especially as a younger man, like, but he's a little bit stockier. He's not like that wiry, lanky, muscular build like Leon is. So that wouldn't have worked for me. I really wish we could have seen, well, frankly, this is true for all of the actors, but I wish we could have seen Eddie Murphy trying a Jamaican accent.
Yeah.
For both reasons, maybe it could have been good. It could have been bad. I think it most likely would have been bad.
Yeah. We were talking about that. Like, were any of these actors Jamaican? I don't know that they were. Like, they're
for some reason, I think Dougie Doug is, because he's an actual pushcart driver.
Oh, okay.
I mean, according to the IMDb trivia, I can't find it in here anymore. But yeah, Dougie Doug's an actual pushcart driver, and the pushcarts in Jamaica apparently are a real thing, which is actually how they got the idea in real life to have a bobsled team. So I thought that was kind of cool. I thought it was cool that wasn't just some thing they cooked up to make it work for the movie. Like that's actually kind of how it went. Again, according to the very loose research I've done in the IMDb trivia section. But anyways, yeah, I think the only one that would have worked for me is Wesley Snipes. And I think, Matt, you mentioned it in the chat during the watch party that it sort of works to the movie's benefit that all these guys are unknown actors, because you know, they're unknown athletes in their sport, or you know what I mean? Like it just makes it a little less believable. You're like, no, that's Denzel Washington. That's Wesley Snipes. Like they aren't these guys. You can actually almost sort of believe this is almost like a documentary, you know, like this is actual footage of these guys. So yeah, I'm glad it worked out the way it did, but it would have been interesting for sure.
Yeah. And I had the thought, like when Ben, you said that Denzel was what Disney wanted, it made me think, and I know this isn't necessarily a comedy, but it is definitely like in that realm of like lightheartedness. Have I missed where Denzel has done comedy before?
Man, I don't know. As far as outright comedy, I can't think. I mean, maybe some of the early Spike stuff that we haven't seen, but I don't know for sure. Like I don't know. I don't know.
I'm trying to picture it being funny. Yeah, and I know there's like the funniness that you get when like you've earned enough respect, where like everything you say is kind of funny.
Yeah,
like you laugh because you're kind of scared and because you love the person. But
I'm trying to Google it, I'm not getting anything. But yeah, he has that thing where like he's confident enough and charismatic enough. Exactly. And if he says any sort of joke type thing,
you'll pee your pants laughing.
Yeah, you're like, oh yeah, for sure. Like, yeah, he's a funny guy, but it's really just his charm and his charisma. And he's got that like bright smile. So when you can tell he's laughing and joking, you want to smile and laugh along with him. He's just such a charming man.
Yeah. He is. Denzel, if you're listening, please like and subscribe to follow us.
Yeah, come on the pod, man.
Join our Patreon.
Yeah. We'll run back the Rushmore for you.
Like, how bonkers would it be if Denzel Washington just randomly subscribed to our podcast and like left comments on Instagram?
Oh man, it'd be great. Well, so I guess this brings us up to what really made Cool Runnings a classic household movie. Because here's the thing about Cool Runnings: there's not really a movie like it. It's a classic sports movie. Someone always brings it up when you bring up sports movies, especially people from our generation. It just, for whatever reason, it became a classic. And as I'm watching it, like I still have very fond memories of it. It's very nostalgic for me. I still loved it. But I was trying to figure out like, why did young me love this movie so much for it to be considered such a classic to like, not just me, but all my cohorts. And Tyler, I don't know if you have any insight on that.
I've been thinking about it a lot since you gave me the prompt. Not to tip our hand too much, but we do talk about these before we record them. No, but I've been thinking about it since you gave the prompt. And for me, what makes it such a good classic movie is just the simplicity of it. It's a really simple story. You get right into it. You buy into the fact that he's an Olympic level athlete. and since it is based in real life, you buy the big mental leap you have to make in your head to say like, oh yeah, this guy will go on to be a bobsled driver, like just the fact that it's based in real life and they give you a simple enough movie, that hits like the formula hits all the right beats. There's the tragedy, there's the triumph, there's the training montage, there's a joke every 10 minutes, you know what I mean? Like there's a laugh every note, there's a little bit of like wisdom to it. And, so it just sort of hits every little beat you would have to hit. And it's just a simple story and you go straight through it. It doesn't spend a lot of time in any one section and then you're done. And there's it's quotable. All the characters are fun. And, to me, the only thing I can think is just the simplicity of it. Because it's easy to understand as a kid. It's like heavy enough and weighty enough to make you think as a child, and also so for an adult to relate to. And so it's just simple enough that, the broadest audience can relate to it. And that's. Oh,
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. That's all I got.
I was just going to say that. I mean, that's essentially kind of what I put too. Like, I just had kind of a one-word answer, which was just Disney. I mean, that's what they do so well. It's like, let's take a story, let's break it down to its simplest like components. Like let's take people who are always in like an arid, dry environment and let's put them on ice. That's just funny to look at, like people trying to like, be on ice for the first time, or let's snap off a dreadlock. Like it's the humor of it, but it's also just the simplicity of just like, cool, these guys just want to compete and here's what they need to do in order to do it. I mean, like I said, they take some artistic license. Obviously you need to have like some confrontation or some, some problems, cause I guess in reading about it, like the real Jamaican team was like welcomed with open arms. Like they were given a sled, like everyone was super stoked they were there. But obviously in this one, we need to have like a little bit of conflict. But I think for me, it was also just the message of it. Like one of the lines that I think worked best in this was when Irv, John Candy's character, is talking to Doris.
You see, Doris, I'd made winning my whole life. And when you make winning your whole life, you have to keep on winning. No matter what. You understand that?
No, I don't understand, Coach. You had 2 gold medals. You had it all.
Doris, a gold medal is a wonderful thing. But if you're not enough without it, you'll never be enough with it.
And I think there's just that kind of message where it's just like, it's not how you finish. It's just like that you do, or that you at least tried. And we see that at the very end, like we see him, he takes that to heart. He's like, listen, we've got to cross this line, even if we have to like carry it ourselves. Like we're crossing this line. So I think Disney, super hot take here, but they know how to tell a story and like, they're really good at it. And just like you said, it's the simplicity of everything. Like, let's just make this as like entertaining and attainable as possible for kids and adults. And they've just been doing that forever.
Yeah. I just watched Moana last night. Same kind of thing, take this girl who just never been outside the reef, put her in the ocean and fighting demons and demigods, and it's to fish out of water. It's triumph. It's there's comedy. They know what they're doing over there.
Yeah, they do.
What's funny is, so obviously the most memorable moment of Cool Runnings is them picking up the bobsled and jogging it, to the finish line, which is the scene that I remembered the most. I hadn't seen this movie since I was a child, but even though I had that image in my head, it still hadn't dawned on me that they don't win until I'm watching this. I'm like, oh yeah. Like, once it happens, I'm like, oh yeah, they don't win. And it didn't occur to me. And we had the conversation in the watch party, like, what are the other like underdog movies or movies about like heroes that don't win, or the protagonists don't win. And I was surprised to find that in this category, even though that's the most memorable scene. It's the one thing everyone should remember from it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, wait, they win, right? They pick it up and they win.
Of course they win. Yeah.
I mean, they win. They just didn't get a gold medal,
Yeah, it's the moral victory.
They are better for having had that experience. But yeah, it is kind of cool that because they could easily make it so they do win somehow. You know, this story could have easily gone off the rails to the point where there'd have to be a postscript at the end of the movie, like the Jamaican team actually lost, you know, or
Yeah,
you know, there would
exactly.
be some explaining to do. So it's cool that they let it play out the way it did, and they made it where the actual winning was the, you know, the character growth.
Yeah, it's pretty cool that as a kid, like my takeaway was that they won. You know.
Yeah, that's awesome. Disney.
So we also in the watch party got on the topic of John Candy, someone we've talked about before on the pod and have lamented over. I think we're all very, very soft for John Candy, and I had the question, and I would love to hear anybody who's listening to this to chime in with this as well. But like,
I would too.
What roles would John Candy be playing today, and also, is there anyone filling the void of that character that he plays? Because his character is very similar, and it's not just like the stereotypical overweight guy character. Like he's playing characters like one that similar to this Cool Runnings one is like Tom Hanks's character in A League of Their Own. You know, like sort of this washed up, you know, has been coach who's like not very kind, and then you know he warms up on you, and I don't know who's playing the roles John Candy played, and I don't know if there is a void that he left that's being filled, but I wanted to hear your guys' take on that.
I thought about this a lot too, and honestly, I had a lot of trouble with it. The only movie that I could think of that came to my head immediately was I would have loved to see John Candy instead of Tim Allen in The Santa Claus. Not just because he's big, but just because I think John Candy's just the warmth he has to him and just his spirit and his character would have made like such an incredible Santa Claus. So it'd be kind of cool to see him make that transformation, and it'd be fun to see him, because I don't really remember the Santa Claus that well, but I feel like he's not like the friendliest guy at the beginning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it would have been nice to see. It would have been cool to see John like play someone with more of an edge and then morph into his true Santa self. I thought that'd be kind of cool. And as far as people filling that void, you know, I was trying to think about. I feel like John Candy is someone that you could have put into almost any movie in some way or another, whether it's just a small role or whatever, and he probably would have made the movie better.
Yeah.
And the only person the first person that I thought of in that light, and I don't even know if it works, but if someone like Will Ferrell, you know, like he can come in and be super heavy and be bombastic and whatever for just a minute and, you know, get off a joke or two. Or he can play someone sensitive or deep or introspective, like in the movie I'm blanking on right now, where he does stuff.
Stranger Than Fiction?
Yeah, Stranger Than Fiction. Or, you know, he can be in Step Brothers and just be ridiculous. Yeah. And so, like, I don't know if that totally translates, but that's kind of how I think about John Candy, is if he's in it, he's going to probably be one of the best parts of the movie. He might steal the movie without even having too much of a hand in it. But I do wonder because Will Ferrell sort of struggles from this too. Do you think he would have gotten to a point where he'd be too big to do that? You know, like when Will Ferrell's in a movie, it's a Will Ferrell movie all of a sudden. And I kind of think John Candy probably would have gotten to that territory to some degree, but I'm not sure.
I think it's a fair point, because like when he passed, like his trajectory was just still going up. So it makes me wonder, like when you ask the question, like, is anyone taking those roles? I'm trying to think like I feel like he would be a big enough name that people would be writing movies for him, or at least with him in mind. But who are those people, or who is it? My initial response, I mentioned it in the chat, was that I think he fits in so well with the Coen brothers. Like, I think he could have been in so many of their movies. And the first name and the size thing just happened to be a coincidence. But like outside of Walter Sobchak, I think you could put him in any of those John Goodman roles. Like in Barton Fink, I think he'd be excellent in that. Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou? Like, I think he has that same kind of dynamism as John Goodman, you know? So yeah. I think he fits in there. I would love, like, for some reason I kept thinking about him in like The Hateful Eight. Like, I think he would have been so fun to see, like, with some Tarantino dialogue, because we see him, you know, like when he's the lead as Uncle Buck or whatever, like he can handle the dialogue, he can handle the wit, and it would have been fun to see him with someone like that. I think obviously, without a doubt, he's in like every Christopher Guest movie because he's with all those people from SCTV, like Catherine O'Hara, Eugene Levy, you know, all those people that he was working with before. But I'm going to throw out my hot take here. I love this movie. I think it's perfect. And I would never want to recast it by any means. But, you know, if we're doing like the emergency recast, like we talked about doing on here, I want the John Candy Uncut Gems movie. I want him to just like lose his mind, like having to like to cover with people, because like I think he's so good at like putting on the charm, like Sandler is. He's obviously naturally funny. Yeah, exactly. But he could just be pulling money out of your pocket and you'll be smiling like, oh yeah, it's great. Like he's got that natural charm and that funniness. But I would just love to see him in this chaotic atmosphere of just like, oh my God, like what's going on? Like, I don't know why. I was like, man, that's what I want. Again, like I don't think Uncut Gems should be touched by any means, but like if we're doing the emergency recast, I'm like give me John Candy. Like I think it'd be so fun to see him in that role. It'd be chaos.
100%. And I was playing that game as well. Like I was thinking of who was filling that void, and I couldn't really come up with a good answer, but I thought of like some of his like maybe more serious roles where he's like not playing comedy. And I feel like he could substitute very well with like Philip Seymour Hoffman roles.
Oh yeah.
Like if you think about like 25th Hour, he could be that guy. In Doubt, you know, he could be that priest. Like there are certain roles on a more serious side that I feel like you could swap him out. But again, you'd never swap out Philip Seymour Hoffman. So
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I can quite go on that journey with you.
I think, like, I mean, it'd be interesting to see him in The Master, you know, like I think he could play that role, but I don't like,
I guess I just don't remember enough of like the darker side of John Candy. And I don't know how often he showed it. Like I don't really remember Uncle Buck that well. I think I saw it once when I was like 10. So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
I mean, his brand was still pretty lighthearted, family friendly, like comedy stuff.
Yeah.
He didn't really go into like the Philip Seymour Hoffman like roles. But I was just thinking of if his career continued on at some point, he wouldn't be in comedy. Like, I mean, we don't see like people from that era doing comedy today.
Yeah, I think he would have ended up doing it at some point. I was trying to think. I wonder if there was ever any like Bill Murray roles that John Candy could have stepped into. Like, not that I would want to for any reason, but like, you know, John Candy as Phil Connors might be interesting. Groundhog Day, because I mean, Bill Murray sort of has the same thing, and maybe that's the answer. Maybe Bill Murray is the filling the void that John Candy left, because he is bigger than life, but he is someone you can just drop into any movie. Like he popped into Zombieland randomly. He's got, you know, more dramatic turns. He's still funny. He's sort of like America's grandpa now. And like, I wonder if some of those roles might've gone John Candy's way. I don't know.
I'd like to see him in Lost in Translation. I think it'd be super cool. He'd be great in that.
Well, there are a few roles that he was already cast in when he passed, and he was going to be the voice of a turkey in the Pocahontas Disney movie.
Okay.
Which they didn't fill, you know, they didn't recast. They just took it out. So obviously they didn't have anyone to fill that void.
Yeah.
And then there was I think it was an Eddie Murphy movie. But essentially it was about two like disgruntled neighbors, which would have been great to see.
Yeah, that would have been cool. When you mentioned the Christopher Guest crowd, I didn't put that together, Ben. But it's a shame that we didn't get him in like Waiting for Guffman, or like he could have been like the director or whatever, you know, in Best in Show, he could have been one of the crazy dog, or he could have been like a judge or something. There's so many cool things he could have done in these Christopher Guest movies that it's a bummer we didn't get to see. But I mean, what are you gonna do? Eat right and exercise, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ben, if you were to pick a part or a person in Cool Runnings, what wins the movie for you? What or who?
I've kind of gone outside of our normal thing here. And I honestly I think who wins this movie is Disney, because I know it's also our age group and stuff, but they just owned the 90s, like those early 90s. I mean, not even talking about all the animation, like Little Mermaid was 89. It was right on the cusp. Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King, like they just like put all that out. But as far as like the live action movies that we grew up with, I think it was just Cool Runnings, Mighty Ducks, Hocus Pocus, Homeward Bound, Newsies, Blank Check, The Heavyweights.
Candy belongs to Seymour Butts.
Seymour Butts? Seymour Butts? Who's Seymour Butts? Who's Seymour Butts?
Nobody see more butts than you, Uncle Tony.
Just all these movies. And I think just like we talked about, like why this is such a classic, like, it's just that kind of like recipe that they have. They just know how to make a good movie. And I think that's really what kind of won this thing for me. Is just like Disney just, again, like just laying it down. It's like, yeah, we are the greatest. I don't know. I feel like production company. I don't know.
They just have such a way. I was thinking about this specifically with the title of the movie, and I don't know. Was there a book that was called Cool Runnings or something? Like I don't know. You know, or movies don't always keep the same title as the book, but because you know that there's a world in which this movie's called something dumb like Black Ice or something. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like they just have a way to just they always everything's so cool with them, so clever, and you know what I mean? Like. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. So that's a good call, man. I mean, because there's definitely a way that this movie sucks, and they just know how to make it not be that way.
Yeah, I think if this is in like the wrong hands, like you said, it's not a great movie, and it's just them showing their power. So for me, that's what won this. It's like, yeah, this was a great movie because it was a Disney movie. I believe that wholeheartedly.
For sure. For me, what wins it this time? When I was younger, it would have been Sanka. I love that guy. He's so funny. I wish he was my friend in real life. He's just I don't know. Love Sanka. But for me this time around, it was the friendship between Yule and Junior, and more specifically, I don't remember the exact scene. I don't remember if it's the exact same time. The I see pride, I see power part. Yeah. That really I really kind of got choked up on that, man. Because as a kid, you know, you haven't been kicked around yet, and you haven't, you know, life is still nice to you when you're a kid. You know, you haven't had to really have that conversation with yourself. And maybe not everyone has, but I've certainly had similar conversations with myself internally, you know, hyping myself up and trying to remind myself about, you know, the things I can bring to the world. And I think everyone goes through that. And so seeing Junior go through that on screen from someone like Yule and their unlikely friendship and their bond being formed, that's what won it for me. All the jokes and everything were still great, and John Candy's obviously incredible, but that scene really hit me differently this time. And I genuinely started to get choked up. It's like, oh shit, like Disney, man, they're pulling the strings, man.
Yeah. I mean,
since the beginning.
Exactly. It plays to the kids like, oh, great, they're friends now. But then the adults are like, oh my God. I remember I had a friend who really like pumped me up at the right time. Like I should reach out to that person, you know, because I definitely had those thoughts. I'm like, oh yeah, like this is a sign of a friend who will have your back and just like totally changes the relationship. Like, yeah, that's a wonderful scene.
Yeah.
Mine would have to be, and you know, your guys' parts are great, but I got to give it to the slow clap. It's gotta be that slow
great
clap.
Slow clap.
What's funny is that like I like it was funny watching it happen, but it still added to the moment.
Yeah, you know it's coming.
I didn't know that I could take the slow clap seriously.
Yeah. Especially after, is it like not another teen movie where that guy keeps trying to start the slow clap and no one joins him? Like that's like the last time I think I've seen a slow clap, and they just like ridiculed it. It's like, oh yeah, no one does slow claps anymore.
Look, you can't just start a slow clap at any old time. You gotta wait for the right moment.
But how am I going to know when it's the right moment?
Oh, You'll know.
Then this came up and I was like, oh, this works actually.
Yeah.
This is really good. This is effective.
Yeah, I was not expecting that to build up the way it did. And yes, it was funny seeing the slow clap in the context, but like it worked and add to the emotion of the scene.
Yeah,
For sure.
So I guess to rip into our final segment, Tyler, if you want to cap off the episode here
Oh, goodness.
with the picks.
The old Rushmore Mountain.
These are OR scrubs.
Oh, are they?
And so we decided on underdog stories, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's good. I'm literally compiling my list as we speak. So maybe Ben might want to go.
damn it. Okay. I was like going last because like I don't want to pick something that everyone else is going to pick, but
Yeah, I, for whatever reason, forgot to do this. I feel like I do this every episode. One day I'll be prepared.
well, I'm going to leave off some that I think are maybe a little more obvious that I hope you guys are going to say. And I'm just going to go with some of my favorites.
Do it.
One of them, it's quite literally in the title, Dodgeball, Underdog Story.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a great one.
For sure.
Whip It, which I've talked about before.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's a
That's a
great,
great
one.
one.
Welcome to skate night at the warehouse. Clean up on aisle 5.
I just want to tell y'all that you're my new heroes. Well, put some skates on. Be your own hero. The last time I wore skates, they had Barbies on them.
I want to be her. Yes, I do.
You know, the team is kind of an underdog. You know, Elliot Page coming in and joining the team and not knowing how to skate, also an underdog, like all that kind of stuff. So I think that movie definitely qualifies. A movie that's somewhat new to me in my life, but it's definitely an underdog story is Bring It On. I think that's a great underdog. Have you guys seen that? The cheerleading movie?
I have not.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's great. I think it's a really good movie. As far as like, I mean, I don't want to go into it too much, but basically they learned that all their routines have come from another team. So they have to create something on their own. So I think it's like a team that also just shows like a team having to come together and all the unity and things like that. And, you know, I think just the category itself lends itself so much to sports movies, which totally makes sense.
For sure.
Because there's so many that you could go through. Obviously, Cool Runnings, Mighty Ducks, like all the stuff that Disney has done. But my number one pick for an underdog movie is 8 Mile.
You'll never try to judge me, dude. You don't know what the fuck I've been through. But I know something about you. You went to Cranbrook. That's a private school. What's the matter, dog? You embarrassed? This guy's a gangster. His real name's Clarence. And Clarence lives at home with both parents. And Clarence's parents have a real good marriage. This guy don't want to battle. He's shook. Cause ain't no such things as halfway crooks. He's scared to death. He's scared to look at his fucking yearbook. Fuck Cranbrook.
I think that is also like a real underdog movie and probably, you know, my favorite of all of them.
Favorite Eminem movie?
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, like, I always will love that he's just like, no, it's not based on me. It's like, dude, this movie is based on you. Are you kidding?
There's no
like,
way it's not.
The guy's from Detroit, like he comes up on the underground rap battle scene, you know, but he was just like, oh no, it's
Like
just like
if you look at the script, Marshall Mathers is scratched out.
yeah, exactly.
Like that episode of The Office when he doesn't
Twigged. Yeah.
Mr. Scarn, perhaps you would be more comfortable in my private jet.
Yes, perhaps I would, Golden Face. Sam, get my luggage.
I forget it, brother.
Samuel, you are such an idiot. You are the worst assistant ever. And you're disgusting. Dwigged? Wait, who's Dwigged?
Yeah, B-Rabbit. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. So that would take my number one. Again, like I know there are more like conventional ones and better movies, but for me, I'm gonna put this on my underdog Rushmore Mountain. So Dodgeball, Whip It, Bring It On, and 8 Mile.
Well, that's such a great list, and I'm so mad that you took 8 Mile because I would also like to put that on there. Well, so the first movie that comes to probably anyone's mind when this comes up is Rocky. And so I feel like it's just like by default, it's on my list. Not that I don't want it on my list, but it's just like this should almost be like Rushmore Mountain of movies like Rocky.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, so Rocky is going to go on my list for sure. The next one that came into my head almost immediately was The Karate Kid.
Banzai!
To baby trees.
Bonsai. Banzai!
Banzai.
Banzai!
Banzai!
Close enough.
I don't know if I need to say too much more about that. I think that'd be a really fun one for a watch party at some point, both selfishly because I'd like to rewatch it.
Yeah.
And it'd be a fun reason to all get together so we can maybe do an emergency watch party or something.
That'd be fun.
Or rig a vote so that one wins somehow. We don't do that. That doesn't happen in
No.
3 films in a podcast.
What's your favorite Pat Morita movie that isn't Babes in Toyland?
What's your favorite martial arts based Pat Morita movie set in Japan? Oh, that's Karate Kid 2. Never mind.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, going through this list, another underdog story. Nah, I'm not going to put that on there. I'm also going to put Dodgeball on there.
Just remember the 5 D's of dodgeball. Dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge.
I had written it down before you said it, Ben. So
Nice.
it still counts. And then another one that I just love, and I haven't seen it in a long time. Well, I rewatched it recently, but before then I hadn't seen it in a long time, is The Replacements with our boy Keanu.
Oh, yeah.
I love that movie. And it's a really great rewatch movie. It's a great sports movie, which fits the theme of this episode. So yeah, I'll go with Rocky, The Karate Kid, Dodgeball, and The Replacements.
That's great. Shane Falco is one of the greatest fictional quarterbacks of all time.
Oh yeah, Falco, man. Got heart.
Oh, I mean, I would love to rewatch Replacements. So mine, since Tyler went Rocky, I'll just go with the Rocky remix of Creed.
It's a great one.
You've never been in front of this many people before, right? That don't matter. You've never been this far away from home. That don't matter. What matters is what you leave in that ring and what you take back with you. You know what that is? Pride and knowing that you did your best and you're doing it for yourself, not for me, not your father's memory, but for you. And I can see in your eyes, you're gonna do it.
Remix the formula in such a great way that still made sense in the universe without like totally copying Rocky.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. I agree. And I see that on a few lists, and I thought about it. But when I think about it, I'm like, he almost doesn't seem like an underdog. You know what I mean? Like, it is underdog story. You know, he's coming into the game late, and he hasn't trained forever or whatever. But like, he just looks so athletic, and he looks like a boxer, and he looks like he'd probably be tough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's just like he doesn't seem like an underdog as much.
Well,
but
he's not just an underdog in the ring in that story, you know? He's an underdog in his family.
True.
Very true.
He had to earn that last name.
All right, you're right. Good pick.
My second one would be Guardians of the Galaxy.
I am
Well, that's just as fascinating as the first 89 times you told me that. What is wrong with Giving Tree here?
Well, he don't know talking good like me and you. So his vocabularistics is limited to I and am and Groot. Exclusively in that order.
Well, I tell you what, that's gonna wear real thin real fast.
Cool.
Okay, yeah.
I was thinking about that.
Third one would be Sing Street, kind of along the same lines of 8 Mile.
Mm-hmm.
Love that movie.
And then I'll cap it off since this was supposed to be a Happy Gilmore episode. I'm going to go with Waterboy.
All right. Let's hear what Mama has to say on the subject.
Mama say that happiness is from magic rays of sunshine that come down when you're feeling blue.
Well, folks, Mama's wrong again.
No, Colonel Sanders, you're wrong. Mama's right.
Nice.
So good.
Mentioning the Sandman a few times this episode.
Yeah.
His spirit is here. Adam Sandler, if you're out there hearing this pod right now.
One of our 2 favorite Adams
subscribe.
on this pod.
Yes. The two sacred Adams.
The
The dyad.
The diadems.
Oh, I love that. That's incredible. Yeah, there's a lot of movies like that I haven't seen that probably would have been on. Like I haven't seen Miracle.
Yeah.
I see Slapshot on a lot of lists. But there's a lot of really good honorable mentions here. Moneyball, which made it really close to being the actual watch party.
So close.
That's a great one.
That's another great one where they lose. You know?
Yeah, right.
I had an honorable mention on mine. I think you guys mentioned Keanu already, but Hardball, which I think is a super fun movie.
I need to see that.
And also kind of League of Their Own and Legally Blonde. I think are some good honorable mentions as well.
Those are really good. The one I almost put on was Forrest Gump.
Oh yeah.
But then I didn't. But I think it could have. It was very close.
A lot of good stuff.
Cool.
He's an underdog. He gets to be an underdog in like 5 different things too. It's not just one story. He's like an underdog in a bunch of different places. So
no, that's like the underdog story. 5 underdog stories in one story.
Yeah.
For underdog compilation movie. No, that was great. Is there anything that you guys want to add to our discussion, to Cool Runnings?
I mean, I would just, if you haven't revisited it in a while, I highly recommend it. Like, it was super fun to do. It's a pretty easy watch. Back in the days when movies were an hour and a half, and it was just like, oh, this is great. We'll be done with this in no time. So
you get in and you get out. And like, I recently tried to rewatch Space Jam for the nostalgia of it, and honestly, I couldn't do it. I turned it off. I was like, I can't do this. Like, it's just didn't hold up to me as well. And there's a few examples of that I can't really remember right now that I've seen recently, but this one certainly holds up. It's still a lot of fun. If you've got kids, you can watch it with your kids. I mean, I don't have kids. Is it an appropriate kid movie, Matt?
I mean, my kids didn't watch it. In fact, they kind of distracted me more than anything from it. But I think my kids would love it, honestly. I certainly loved it as a youngster, so I imagine they would.
Yeah, I mean, we were all we were like barely 10 or whatever when this came out.
Yeah, I came out in 93. Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty young. So yeah, I mean, it's fun for the whole family, and it really holds up. So give it a shot.
Yeah. So thanks again for listening. Please follow, subscribe, do all the things so that you can join along with us on this ride. We'd love for you to participate in the next watch party. They're a ton of fun. Thanks for voting if you voted. But also stop by our shop. There's currently only one place on the planet where you can buy 3 Films apparel, mugs.
Yes.
So check that out.
And it just got updated today, actually.
Also sign up for our Patreon.
Yeah. Speaking of our Patreon, I just want to give a shout out to our most recent patron, Andrew Pedersen. Sign up at our top level, which is super awesome. We're very grateful for that. That also means that we'll be having him on an episode at some point. And that also means that he will be picking a movie for us to review. So maybe those will go hand in hand and he'll be able to come on and talk about the movie with us. But yeah, I mean, if you're on the Patreon, like, we're given the early votes, the people that get to decide what movies are in the running are essentially our patrons. Like we kind of give them the free reign. Like I said, like Free Solo, Moneyball, some of these came from our patrons. So next month, to give it away, it is February. So we're going to be doing rom-coms for the next watch party. So I don't know if we're going to do a giveaway or not, or just the bracket. Either way, it's super fun. Again, like, we just love this community. I've been talking to some of my friends who are in there, and it's just like, there's nothing better for me to hear from them than just to say like, oh yeah, we've been listening to it and like watching the stuff based off your guys' recommendations. I'm like, that's like the top, for me. Like,
for sure,
if people are like hearing what we're saying, and just kind of like taking it, and I don't know, it's the best part of this whole thing, just this community that we got going. So thank you so much to Andrew and all of our other patrons. And this next watch party, I think it's going to be pretty fun. I think we are also going to have a rom-com movie draft. So we'll have our second movie draft come in, which I'm very excited about.
Yeah. Yeah, it should be a good time. And, watch party. When's that going to be? Do we have a date yet?
We don't. We should probably figure that out because as of right now, it's set up for the Saturday, the day before Valentine's. So I don't know how well that's going to work. So it'll either work perfectly or horribly. So we'll have to kind of figure out what time frame works best for people. So we might push it back a week because we've been doing them the second Saturday of every month, and that's the 13th of February. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if that gets moved around or not. Not that anybody can go anywhere anyway. So
yeah. Well, either way, you'll have some time. You can find a date. You can show up and have a chat. And yeah, it's a really good time. And like these guys have said, I just want to echo the whole point of this is we want the community involvement. We were doing this without all of you guys, and it's just so much more fun to have you guys come with us. And so yeah, keep an eye on our Instagram and send us a comment and. We'll
get our schedule out there for you guys too, so you can see what movies are coming up because we've got our slate almost completely figured out through the summer. So we would love to have people on to talk about movies with us. So if you see something you want to talk about, if you see something, say something. If you want to come, if you want to come on the pod, let us know.
That's right. Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for listening, and we will catch you next episode.
See ya.
See ya.
Hey, sucker, the steering wheel is finished.
All right, team, let's get ready for the pre-race cheer. Ready?
Yes, sir!
Ready?
Yes, sir!
All right. 1, 2, 3.
Who's the captain of our crew? Who's a friend to me and you? Kinda nice, good looking too. Sanka, Sanka, yeah, Sanka!
Get back to work.